right, y'all, we are live. And when I tell you we are so excited, this is going to be a great conversation. Oh my goodness, we've already started it. So we'll fill you in on what we have been talking about in just a second. But if you are a faithful viewer, you know what I have to do before I get started. I have to share it to my page. And then we can get started, and I will introduce you to this amazing woman I have joining me tonight. And we have some good stuff to talk about, y'all. So just
then we can get started.
If I could turn my volume down, that would be wonderful. So come on in, make yourselves comfortable, and let us know that you're here so that we can say hello to you. So hello. Happy Wednesday.
Yes, we are halfway through the week.
Yes. Okay. All right. So I have shared it and I think we are good to go. So we are going to get started on time. I see Miss Shanta and Courtney. Hey, y'all. Hey.
Hello.
Tonight. All right, y'all. All right, so we're going to jump into this because I want to make sure that we have all of the time tonight to have this powerful conversation. So happy Wednesday. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Relationship Talks. I am your host, Siobhan Carter, the You Relationship Coach. And what that means is I am passionate about all things concerning relationships, especially the relationship that you have with yourself. And tonight, I have the pleasure of being joined by my sister, Dr. Sanethia N. Newby. Now, listen, let me tell y'all this is just a snippet about who Dr. Sanethia N. Newby is. She is the purpose cultivator, helping individuals make the environment of their lives conducive for living in and on purpose. She's a life and leadership coach, international speaker, training consultant, author, and so much more. And tonight, honey, we are going to be talking with her about a new book that she is the visionary author for, that we both have in our hands tonight. The Lioness Leads, Stories of Triumph Over Fear. So before I get into any of this discussion about this amazing book, Dr. Sanethia, what else would you like for the people to know about you?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me as a guest here on Relationship Talks. I do enjoy the show. So to be here as a guest, I'm feeling like, thank you so very much for having me here. I think you kind of summed up, the things that I do. If I had to say who I am, Siobhan, I think I'm just a girl out here in these streets trying to stay hydrated, monitoring my edges.
Yeah.
And just getting up each day, fulfilling the purpose that God has put me here on earth for.
Yes, ma'am. And fulfilling it, you are. So tonight, like I said, we are talking to Dr. Sanethia about being the visionary author of this amazing book project, The Lioness Leads, Stories of Triumph Over Fear. And I'm just not talking about this book from the sidelines. It's just something that I heard about. But I'm also talking about this book because I know how powerful it is. Gratefully, I have been granted the ability. My publishing company was the publisher for this book. And so myself and my team, Monica, and some amazing designers, we were able to review this book and just really delve into it and just really read and it ministered to us as we were going through these amazing stories. So it's filled with stories from Dr. Sanethia with the intros and 14 other amazing women who some of them are on here tonight watching us. So hello, ladies, Miosha and Shonda and Courtney. Thank you all for tuning in. But this is such a powerful book. And so we're going to dig into this, and we're talking about leading like a lioness, because the book is The Lioness Leads. So what does it even mean to lead like a lioness? So, Dr. Sanethia, you reached out to me about publishing your book in June of 2020, right? And it started out as a vision that's been in your heart for a few years. I think you said since 2017, you had this vision. And now, with the support of 14, the fabulous 14 is what we call them, you have given birth to this powerful book. So, how did you come up with this vision and the title of the book?
You know, I wish, Siobhan, I could take credit for just like sitting down and saying, oh, the Lioness Leads. That's not what happened. You know, it's interesting because, you know, as you talk about relationships here on your podcast, this flowed out of my relationship with God.
Wow.
Literally, 2017, literally the name Baku just dropped during I was praying. And I was like, Baku? I was like, what is that? God, what are you talking about? You know? And literally, like, y'all don't judge me because literally that's how we roll. That's what we do.
It's your relationship. That's your business. Yes.
That's what we do. And I was like, what? I was like, come again. Baku. And literally it became like a scrolling message on the backside of my eyelids. BACU. And it had an accent over the U.
Wow.
I was like, so I'm looking it up. I was like, what? And Holy Spirit says bold, authentic, courageous, unapologetic. And it was around dealing with fear because fear is something that I have wrestled with for years. So this message Baku comes is 2017. And I knew in 2017 that I was supposed to be working this Baku with women. And I didn't want to. We're just gonna have real talk tonight, right? I didn't want to. And I told God, I was like, I don't want to. And I was speaking out of my own brokenness with my experiences with girls and women that said to me, I ain't interested in nothing with women. I just wasn't. And so I played around with it, Siobhan. I made a t-shirt. I did a live event. I played around with it, but didn't move forward in it. So it just stayed like a note in my phone. I just kind of let it die off a little bit. I would work with it in my coaching business with my women clients. I played with it. And so fast forward to us being in the smack dab in the midst of quarantine last year. Baku surfaces again. And this time it comes with the Lioness Leads.
What you say?
I was like, the Lioness Leads. I was like, what? So then I started studying about lionesses. I've always had an affinity and been drawn to lions, right? Yeah. That might be a zodiac thing, though, because I'm a Leo.
You're a Leo. Okay, gotcha.
But I had never really studied on lioness. And so it all came together. So then I thought, when I reached out to you, I think I led with Baku. And we talked about being bold, authentic, courageous, unapologetic, you know. So we just kind of, you know, we started talking about book titles or whatever. So then it was like, wait a minute. The Lioness. Oh.
Yep.
Oh. And it came together. It just all came together. It, you know, from 2017 to then, in the midst of a pandemic, it all just kind of came together. And I think the coming together happened because I stopped fighting on what I'm purposed to do, which is to minister to women and build up an army. Of women who are bold, authentic, courageous, and unapologetic.
And you know, when I think about the timing, 2020, we all were told to sit down, you know, and so much was moving before then, just moving and shaking and just not many of us weren't paying attention to what was going on in the world, or just having those quiet moments, taking time for those quiet moments. And then everything stood still. So we were forced to sit down. and really think about, so that we can be ministered to reflect on our lives. And if we took advantage of that opportunity, we got things like this, visions like this. God was able to speak to us and we could hear him clearly. And then all the things that he probably has been telling us, like you said, for the few years, now is the time. And look what your obedience, what that led to. So, it's just amazing to hear your story and to see how it all came together and to see this vision come to fruition. And so tell us about the lioness. What does it mean to lead like a lioness? You said you were studying. What did you learn about the lioness?
I learned so much about the lioness, and something that I never knew, because we're always taught the lion is the king of the jungle, and you know, power and this prowess of the lion, right? We rarely hear about the lioness. So what I realized is that the lioness is really the backbone of God.
Come on.
The lioness is the one who goes out for the kills, to get the wildebeest, to bring it back so that the pride can eat. The lioness is the one who will go out there and scrap and get injured, get wounded, will risk her life, will sometimes die in the battle.
Wow.
The lioness goes out to do that. The lioness is the one who's nurturing and raising up the cubs, because when they get to a certain age, they've got to be able to go out and survive in the wild on their own.
Come on.
It's the lioness who's moving and motivating. And it's crazy because, you know, what I found is that lionesses really thrive in community, right? So if I go out for the kill, Siobhan, and I get injured, and I've got to find me a nice cool tree to lay up under so that I can lick my wounds and I can heal. Another lioness will rise up and say, I got the pride from here, and I'll go out and I'll go get it.
Wow.
I got you.
Wow.
Right? And so it's interesting though, because sometimes there's infighting in pride, right? So there's this place of authority that happens. But you know what's crazy about the lioness though is that she'll fight a lion too. She like,
let me tell you,
everybody can get this smoke.
Everybody. It's just that's fierce. This lioness is fierce, honey. So the title of this book, just to hear that description and to think about what that represents and what this book represents, that is powerful. Powerful.
And the lioness, she's ferociously loyal. She is loyal. She a fighter. She resilient. She'll get injured, Siobhan, and she keeps showing up.
Wow. And that's what just the connection in what the stories are about, right? So before I get into talking about these amazing women, the 14 amazing women, I want to read an excerpt from something that you wrote, because you also wrote in this book, the introduction. Each section. So there are 4 sections of the Lioness Leads. And what Sanethia said earlier, Baku, which is bold, authentic, courageous, and unapologetic. So the book is divided into those 4 sections. And so Sanethia wrote an introduction for each of those sections. So let me tell you how she started the book, y'all. Okay. So this is just the introduction. Listen, you need this book so that you can live boldly, authentically, courageously, and unapologetically. You may ask how I know what you need when I may have never met you personally. I know because I am you. I am a woman who has wrestled with fear. Sometimes I lost and other times I won. I am a woman who needs support and the comfort of community with other women. I am a woman who needs encouragement, motivation, and inspiration. I am a woman who gives so much of myself to others, who often feels depleted, and who longs for someone to empathize with my experiences and understand the challenges I face. Like you, I am also a woman who leads others. So this book is personal for you, Synetheia. Tell us more about that, why it was so important for you to not only the women to tell their stories, but for you to incorporate your story as well.
Yeah, it's, you know, what I realized as we were mapping out this book, is that this book, the vision for it, was a reflection of my own story.
Mm-hmm.
It was a reflection of my own journey as a leader. I've been a leader in government for about 12 years now. I've been a leader in the nonprofit sector, a leader in ministry. I'm a minister, right?
Yeah.
So I've been a leader in multiple places, and I've been wounded in all of those. I have needed community in all of those places and didn't have it.
Yeah.
I needed a place where I could take off the cape and I could go lay in the grass like what a lioness does when she's wounded. She goes to find a place where she can lay in the brush and the grass so that she can heal and not trying to heal and get up and still lead people.
Yeah.
She could have a place for replenishment. That was my experience, Siobhan. That's my story, right? And so what I realized coming into this book, it was like, okay, I could write a book all day, every day.
Yeah.
My story.
Right.
Which I will have a book coming out next year, but that's not But what I realized is that just like I needed that as a leader, I was like, there are other women who are leading who need the same thing. And I knew they were out there, Siobhan, because I'm coaching them.
Yeah.
I'm coaching them, right? I'm coaching women who are judges. I'm coaching people who are in executive positions in local government. And honey, they bleeding. They're wounded and they're bleeding, and there's no safe place. There's no place of identification. And I was like, no, women need a place of identification to know it's not just me.
Yeah.
It's not just my story. There are other women out there who have stories just like mine. No, this book needs to be a compilation of stories. And that's the trajectory moved from there. But it started with me. All the things that I went through, as I went through, God kept telling me, it's going to get you somewhere. I'm going to use this. I'm going to use it to help other people.
Yeah.
This is fruit.
Yes. Yes.
This is fruit from my journey. This is proof that it wasn't in vain.
Yeah. 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 And it wasn't. And just like I was telling Synetheia before we started this conversation, the community that she has created with this book project has been phenomenal. So she is not only writing about being a lioness who leads, she exemplifies that in everything that she does. And I have been a witness to that and in a part of that community in publishing and in this project. And so we have our own little chat. All of us are on the chat and we encourage each other. We support each other. There's just so much that has happened over this past year in the midst of all the different phases of this project. Come on, girl, you can do this. This is the deadline and all this kind of stuff. And they did it together, and it's just been beautiful to witness just your leadership, you saying yes, and then you handpicking these women. You didn't put a blast out there on Facebook. You went after these women. So tell us about that. What was it about these women that you said, I need her on this project?
Well, it's interesting because I remember back to when I was meeting with you and Monica the second go round, because let's be clear, I met in June and then your girl tried to fade out to black and not do this project. And God was like, we're not doing this.
No, we're not doing this.
No. So the second time around, when we finally got going in December of last year, because we're going to tell the truth, right?
That's all right, yes.
We got going again, and you were sharing with me your wisdom from, how people have gotten co-authors together before. And so I prayed and I was like, okay, God, what should I do? Because I didn't feel oppressed, Siobhan, to do all this major social media push. I didn't know people do it that way,
right?
But I didn't feel oppressed to do it that way. I felt oppressed for intimacy, that there were certain women who were supposed to be a part of this project. So I think I did like maybe 2 social media post about it. It was like kind of real low key. And I did get, I think maybe about 2 of the co-authors through those general posts. But everyone else, specifically, when I prayed and I asked God, show me, I sent personal invitations.
Yeah.
And some of them I wrestled with God on, because I was like, I said, they busy, they don't have time to.
Yeah.
And God was like, you team doing too much, man.
What did I say? What did I tell you to say? You know,
say it.
Right.
I said, yeah, it was very intentional, and no one. So even for those who may not have come into co-authorship through a direct invitation from me, it was purposeful. They were purposed to be in the Fab 14. It was purposeful. It was no mistake, because what I desired was in this book that you would see different women.
Yeah.
All of us wrestling with fear, but you would get a story from each of them that gives you a different perspective. And that when people pick up this book and read it, they will find themselves in the book. Like they will find themselves so intimately written in, they would think, how did Courtney know my story?
Right.
How did Nicole know that? Did Shanae live my life? Like, that's the experience I want people to have in reading this book. And listen, the Fab 14 did not disappoint.
Yes, and that is true. And there was such diversity in the stories, and there was no redundancy. You would think we're talking about leadership, that some of the stories would overlap or they would be saying the same things. These ladies are so unique, and it is so evident in the stories that they wrote, and it's so personal. Like, they really poured their hearts out into these stories. Like, we had coaching sessions, we had writing sessions. They really took this seriously and were intentional about fulfilling this assignment, and they did that in this book. And so just to see it all come together is just amazing, and it just makes me emotional, because I know where it started. I know where they started. I know where you started. And so to see it come to fruition and come to pass is so beautiful, like I said, to witness. So like I said, you personally invited these women, and some or through the little bit of advertisement that you did about it, but I still feel like they were handpicked to be a part of this project. And so tell us about Baku. So we said that the book is divided into the 4 sections: bold, authentic, courageous, and unapologetic. And those are the sections that the women wrote in. So give us a summary of what readers can expect from each of the sections of this book.
Baku is so many things, right? Baku is a declaration. Baku is a mindset. It is a choice of how we respond to fear, because none of us are immune from fear, right? Fear hits our lives all in different ways. Baku is a choice. Baku says, I choose to show up boldly. When other people say I should shrink, when other people say I'm shining way, way too bright, when people say, oh, I'm doing too much, no, I choose boldness, because fear has been lying to me and telling me that I'm small. But when I choose boldness, I show up in all of the strength of who I am. I show up in all of my resilience, and you're going to get all of this good work when I show up. I won't shrink. And that's what the boldness section is all about. So each one of the 4 authors who are under that bold section talk about their journey of overcoming fear and becoming bold women, and how they are still showing up in their boldness. And then you move into authenticity, and we have 3 amazing authors that talk about the journey of self-acceptance. Of being unique and not being afraid to show up in our authenticity. And here's the power of the authenticity in Baku is because anytime we show up in a space trying to be someone else or something else that we were not created to be, we keep the world out of our greatness.
Come on. Can you say that again? Say that again.
Every time we show up and we don't show up in who we are uniquely, we keep the world out of our greatness. And what we do is we snub our noses at God and somehow tell him that who he created us to be is not enough.
Wow. How dare we, when you think about it that way?
How dare you show up in the world trying to be somebody other than who God created you? How dare you show
Mm,
up
mm, mm, mm,
and you an oak tree, but you're trying to
mm,
be a pine tree?
mm, mm, mm.
We cheat the world out of what we have to author and what we have to offer. And these amazing ladies talk
Yeah.
about that battle for authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
When we show up as less than ourselves, it makes us a liar,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
And it
Mm-hmm.
pushes us into a place of perpetual comparison.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
looking at Siobhan and I'm like, oh, my locks don't shimmer like Siobhan locks, so maybe my locks ain't good enough.
Child, please.
Well, maybe Siobhan and I got different texture of hair.
Right.
Maybe Siobhan and I use different products on our locks,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Authenticity says who I am that's good. I'm good, right? So then there's courage, right? So then we've got 4 more ladies who write about being courageous. So here's the thing about fear, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fear doesn't necessarily disappear in the face of courage.
Mm-mm.
Courage shows up and confronts fear and says, I'm here, and what?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm here.
Right. Let's do this.
Let's do this. Courage
Yeah.
says, I have every reason to retreat.
Mm-hmm.
I may even have some legitimate reasons for burying my head in the sand, but I choose courage.
Mm-hmm.
I choose to take heart. I choose to do the thing that I am terrified to do. I
Yeah.
choose to be courageous,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's
Mm-hmm.
almost something you got to tell yourself every day when you get out of bed. I choose
Yeah.
courage today.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
These women talk about being courageous,
Mm-hmm.
that when they should have just run away and buried their heads in the sand, and they had every reason to, when they should have shriveled up in a knot and just died and had every right to, they courageously showed up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Right.
So then being unapologetic just brings you full circle, right? So that's the you in Baku.
Mm-hmm.
Unapologetic is having a mindset that says, I will no longer apologize to people for who I am. I will not apologize for the authority I have in my leadership position. I will not apologize for the blessings I have and the favor I have. I'm not doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
Why would I apologize for the things that God has blessed me with?
Right. Right.
The gifts, talents, and abilities I have, why would I tell you I'm sorry for that? To make you feel better?
Mm-hmm.
But then I feel terrible in the process. Where's the win in that?
Right. Right.
So that's what being unapologetic is all about. That it's not about being nasty. It's not an arrogance. It's not a haughtiness. It is simply saying, I will not apologize for the greatness that I carry. I will not apologize for the kingdom authority that I walk in.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what's so beautiful about these 4 sections of the book? The women who we assign to each of the sections, it just seems like their stories meshed so perfectly with each section. And it's almost like this project helped to even push them to a whole nother level of Baku, because for some of them, they were comfortable in the background. Yeah. But, and you would think that as leaders that we are just automatically operating as in boldness, authenticity, being courageous and unapologetic. But that's not true. And that's what this book is going to help people see, the humanity of leaders, right? Because we can be in these positions and doing all these things all day, but there are things that we're wrestling with that people don't even know about. Absolutely. And so that's what I love about this book as well, because it shows the humanity. They are women, we are women just like you. And we struggle just like you, and we continue to show up. It's a choice, like you said, at the end of the day.
Absolutely. It's crazy because I think a couple of things have happened, and this is just each of the women talking to me offline. And talk about the thing that I prayed for, which was, God, let this project be more than a book. Let this be a transformative encounter and experience for each one of us as authors, that who we come in as women and as leaders when we start won't be how we come out of this. Out of this stronger, better, willing to come out of our comfort zones, willing to trust you in a way that we've not trusted you in before. I wanted experience to be transformative for all of us. I prayed the same thing for you all as our publishing team. I was like, I want us all to come out.
Listen. Yes. Yeah, this has been a and I'm glad you said that, because this has been a transformative experience for me, and just challenged me in so many ways and just helped me to come outside of my comfort zone as well. And so I thank you for that prayer. I thank you for including us in that community of women so that we can be a part of, Baku as well. So it's been a pleasure and an honor to just walk alongside and journey with all of you in this process.
Yeah.
And so what has it been like for you? Like, what has it been like journeying through this book process, going from what you wrote down in some notes or putting your phone to having this book in your hands? What have you been experiencing?
It's been a myriad of emotions, right? I feel like I've kind of been on a roller coaster, and then at times it has just felt so unreal. Like,
Yeah.
and I think I would send you messages like, "This is really happening. Like, this is a real thing." Like,
Yeah.
Siobhan, I think I stay in a place of this is really happening for a while,
Yeah.
because even I think, because I work in project management in local government and doing consulting work. When we first started out, like, you are so organized, and so you're sending files and documents, and we got a whole project timeline worked out. And so
Yeah.
I'm in task. I'm like, okay, yeah, we got tasks. Boom, boom, boom. I'm checking boxes. And then, as we started moving along, so we get to doing the informational session and the interest meeting, which was a whole powerful experience on its own. I was like, what is happening here, right?
Yeah.
So, like, okay. So we moving along. And so then the stories start coming in. And Monica, with her oily self as an editor, she comes and she editing all of this stuff. And so I'm reading it, but it's still not really dawning on me that this is like a legit book that's happening.
Right.
We've been working on the cover since like January, and so from imagining the cover and doing all of that stuff. But then when it starts, it got to the place where you sending me book covers to approve, and we talking about interior design and stuff. And I was like,
you said, wait a minute now. What are we doing again?
that's really a whole book. And so, I think the first time I cried real tears, and I actually sent Siobhan a video, y'all.
Yeah.
Was when she got her proof copy before I did. And so literally I was working on stuff for the launch for Monday. And when she sent the video, and I was like, oh my gosh, a whole book. And so I just got my proof copy today.
Yeah.
And I sit in awe of what was a note in my phone. I sit in awe of something that my former apostle, who has passed away, this was in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Told me that God had given me a ministry for women, that my assignment was to women. So this was, to be clear, before 2017, this wasn't new information, right?
Yeah.
So holding this book is mid 2000s to 2021.
Wow.
The community that was built amongst us as lionesses is proof of the 2000s.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So now it's just like, yes. Yeah.
Yes. And when we talked about this book, we likened it to a pregnancy, right? So we talked about, you're giving birth to a baby, and you're holding the baby in your hands. But let's talk about the process of just, conception and being pregnant with a vision. I want you to encourage those who are watching, who are still in that phase like you were in the beginning, of just writing it down, or maybe it's a thought that God has dropped in their hearts and in their spirits. What words of encouragement would you give to them who are still at that point of just maybe conception, or just the idea of being pregnant?
Don't abort your baby. Don't abort your baby. If you in week 1 of the pregnancy, if you in 8 weeks, if you at 8 months, don't abort. Because I think sometimes when life gets hard, when things happen that tell us we can't carry the baby to term.
Yeah.
It ain't gonna work. Or this baby ain't gonna be able to live outside of your womb.
Yeah.
We'll abort.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can't say this enough to the person who's listening, who has very clearly seen the idea, you've heard the voice of God, you are so clear about it,
Mm-hmm.
but you are questioning whether it's possible for the birthing to happen through you. Thought that somebody else should give birth to it. And some of you maybe even have tried to take the seed out of your womb and put it in somebody else's womb to have them do it.
Yeah.
But the baby is meant to be in your womb. Don't abort the baby. This baby has to live.
Yeah.
Because you've aborted enough babies. And I'm speaking even about my own situation, because here it is. I think about all the things that I've started.
Yeah.
Stopped.
Yeah.
Started and stopped. That's an abortion. Started and stopped. I stopped it.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? This one living. This the one that's gonna live. And you know why it's gonna live? Because it's the one that God called me to carry.
Yeah. Yeah.
This one gonna live.
That's it. And you know what it makes me think about? I've never given birth to a child, but I have experienced being pregnant and miscarrying, right? And I remember being in the doctor's office and getting a sonogram and seeing that there was evidence of life. There was a sac there. There was evidence of life, but there was no fetus, right? And so I think about those women who see their vision on a sonogram. They have been given the vision. They have been shown what's possible in the smallest form. And if they continue to just carry it, to just do the work that's required, then they'll be able to birth it.
Yeah.
And so it just makes me think about those women. You see, you know a little bit about what you're called to do. You see the vision just a little bit. And I hope this conversation will be encouragement for you to hear Synethia's story. This started with a vision that she even ran from for a little while.
Yes. Yeah.
But here now, she gave birth to it. So this is evidence that it is possible for you as well. Yeah. It's possible. Don't abort the baby.
And I, like you, I don't have any children. I'm unable to have children, right? And so I'm grateful for my niece who's a doula.
Yeah.
So I talked to her in this process, and she's been teaching me about pregnancy and things of that nature. Yeah. And as she talked to me about those different things, and I've walked with friends through their pregnancies, every trimester of the pregnancy is different. Yeah. Right. You experience something different in your body. Right. So for many women that I've been connected to, the first trimester has been the hardest because the body is getting acclimated to something that is like, what is this? This present here. What is happening? Right. And so there's a lot of adjustment. There's a lot of uncomfortable times.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You might have morning sickness. You might have all day sickness. You might just be tired and lethargic all the time. And so everything tells you in the first trimester, abandon camp. It's too much. Too hard. I don't want to go through this. I don't want to be tired. I don't want to be nauseated. Everything in the first trimester says abandon, abort.
Yeah. Yeah.
But here's something that I've learned is that if you can just hold on to the comfortableness of the first trimester, you find a sweet spot in the second trimester where your energy picks up and where your skin begins to be more luminous and your baby bump and you just looking good. You taking your pictures and everything feels wonderful, right? And it's going well. You get to the third trimester.
Honey.
Because that baby is shifting and moving down into your hips and getting into position. So now you uncomfortable again. And now it's hard to sleep in comfortable positions, right? And so then there's the preparation for the baby to come, and it's like, oh my gosh, I got to get ready for this. I got to make room.
Yeah, yeah.
So I need for somebody to hear that for some of you in your birthing process, you got to make room.
Make room.
That means that there are some people that you may be connected to that you can't be connected to no more because there's not enough room. It's not enough room. It might mean that you need to change the atmosphere and where you are located at, because where you live in is not conducive for what is about to come out of you.
Come on.
You gotta have room. You gotta make room.
Yes.
So sometimes even in the third trimester, we'll abort the baby because we don't want to make room.
Right. Because we're back in that uncomfortable space. Yeah.
I want to make room, Siobhan.
Yeah.
I want to make room because this was going to require me to do something different. It required me to shift my business. It required me to make room, and I didn't want to have to make room.
Woo!
It required me to make some sacrifices, because I was like, God, to do this beyond the book.
Yeah.
Because after the book, he said, now I want you to mobilize and raise up and equip an army of kingdom women.
Now
wait a minute, God, you said it was
wait a minute. Right, wait a minute. Now, you adding on stuff. I was trying to do step one. Now, where's all these other steps coming from?
I was like, I said yes to the book. What are we talking about? Mobilizing and raising up an army. I ain't signed up for that. Right? But to do that, I was going to have to make room. I was going to have to make some sacrifices and do things differently.
Yeah.
And so you don't abort your baby. I ain't saying it's going to be easy. The journey has not been easy. It has not been comfortable. Through many toils and snares, I've already come.
Yeah.
But don't abort the baby.
Yeah.
And my God, don't get to the 9th month when the baby is down in the canal and in position to come out. Don't get to the 9th month and snatch your baby out.
Right. And you know what's beautiful about the birthing process? So you are the one that has to push the baby out, right? So you get help with that part. But you got people holding your hand, you got doctors, you have nurses, you have a whole team of people who are rallying around you to help you, encouraging you to push this baby out. So the beauty of a vision is that you don't have to do it by yourself. It was a whole community of women. You didn't have to write this book by yourself. It was a whole community of women that God had predestined to be a part of this assignment, a whole publishing team. Everything that you needed was right here. He just needed you to say yes. That you did. Yeah.
It. But and what's crazy though, right? Because I think about even how I met you. So Ron and I met through a mutual friend that we have. So we met through Dr. Trinace, and Dr. Trinace and I went to college together. She has an amazing organization called Real Women, and Siobhan is a facilitator for Real Women. So the first time I encountered Siobhan, this is crazy, is when they had their annual retreat in Virginia Beach. I think it was right before the pandemic, maybe 2019.
Yep, I remember that. Yep.
And you shared your story. You led the sessions and you shared your story. Wow. I didn't know at that time you were a publisher, because that wasn't what you were talking about. You were talking about your own journey, right? Fast forward to 2020, right before the pandemic, Dr. Trinace released a book anthology, and you were the publisher. And I was like, oh, Siobhan does publishing. I was one of the viewers of the book. And so I came to the launch. I met you. I met Monica. So then fast forward, when God started talking about this book, and I was talking to my sister girl, Miosha, I was like, I don't know. I can't do this by myself. I don't know what this is going to look like. I don't know about a publishing team, And I said, you know, I met Siobhan. I don't really know Siobhan. I was like, no. And she was like, what you say? She was like, just pray, just pray, And when I prayed, you were where I landed. And I remember even saying to God before I reached out to you, I was like, gosh, she don't know me and I don't know her. Like, I don't even know. This is going to be really weird. She's going to think I'm crazy. And none of that happened.
Wow. Nope. Because, and you know what's interesting about that, as you share that story, I had a similar running story from publishing, right? So a few years prior, I had been running from the call to publish. I just wanted to start this company to publish my own books. I didn't want to publish books for other people. Now, what is you saying? I write my story, God, but I don't know what you're talking about writing helping other people publish. Right. So he had to hunt me down for years, honey, because I was like, no, thank you. I don't want that assignment. And so one day he had me on my knees crying in the bathroom on the floor because I could not run from the calling any longer. I just had to surrender. And after I did that, that's when Purpose Pushers came. And then that's when your book came along with others that published. So this is a God ordained, God orchestrated, ordered steps type of connection. And that's what we're saying. If you just say yes, he will do what is needed to bring the people, to bring the resources, everything that you need. And so, yeah, you're hearing from both of us what happens when you say yes. So
Just
yeah,
say yes. Yeah.
just say
Don't make one-sided decisions. When God speaks, and it's gonna sound crazy. I'm a whoever listening that's thinking that it's gonna sound reasonable and rational. It ain't gonna sound reasonable and rational, and you're gonna be looking at heaven like,
what are you talking? No. Who, me? No, thank you. No.
right? But if you just stick it out, because
Yeah.
God has a way of setting everything in order that we need before we even know that we need it. And that's very much what this process has been, that even as the one giving birth, and there's so many things that have been happening in the background in my personal life, in my professional life. Like, life didn't stop in the midst of this book. The things happened that could have been a distraction, that could have took me off my game plan. All of those things happened, but I can tell you what did not happen in this process. Never once did I get stressed out in this process. This process was so smooth. Y'all, when I tell you that this process was smooth, like, this is how I know that Siobhan is anointed and called to do this, because it was effortless. It was smooth, right? So even at times where it felt like,
right,
let me breathe.
Yeah.
Right there. She like the publishing midwife.
Yes, come on.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because I prayed for a midwife, because I'm a midwife to so many other women, helping them walk in their purpose and fulfill their purpose and discover their purpose. And I midwife out other women. And I prayed and I said to God, God, the midwife needs a midwife. And my God, if he did not send Siobhan, the publishing midwife.
Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen. Because that's what he called me to do. Like, that's a part of his calling on my life. So I am so grateful for him, sending our paths crossing, and him designing it that way. And for Monica, who is also on our publishing team, for being an amazing and anointed editor, who is my partner in this publishing business, and just for all the people that have helped us to bring this to fruition. It has been truly a blessing to see it all come together. And so before we leave today, I want you to talk about what's happening next, because like you said, this is not just a book. The book is written. And so now there are some other steps that are going to be taken, and this is really a movement. The Lioness Leads is now a movement. And so tell us more about what you have coming up next.
Yes, absolutely. So one of the things that you'll find if you go over to www.thelionessleads.com is you're going to learn more about the Lioness Leads mobilization for Kingdom Women. There is a free online community called the Baku Tribe that I want to invite other women to come in, and the same community, the same spirit of transparency and safety that was created amongst us as we authored this book is the same type of community that we are building, where you can come in and you can take your rest. You can come in and be in a safe place with other women who can relate to your experiences and your challenges. But the other thing that you get in the online community is you're going to get some equipping, right? So if you come in feeling like, I don't feel bold, authentic, courageous, and unapologetic in this community, you're going to get equipped. You'll get built up. So again, when you go to www.thelionessleads.com, not only can you pre-order your book there, but you just click a link and you can join the Baku Tribe. So that's the two things that are happening simultaneously. The other thing is the launch of the Lioness Den, Courageous Conversations with Women Who Lead, which on October 11th. And so this is the launching pad for a podcast. And so what's happening right now, though, this thing is just crazy and evolving because we're going to have a TV show that's going to come out of this.
Come on. Okay, come on.
You heard it here first, just so you're clear. But right now, we're on Facebook, and it's going to be hosted on my YouTube channel as well. So the Lioness Den, you'll have opportunity to meet other women who lead in different capacities and hear their stories, because there's so many more stories out there. So right now, I'm doing interviews with all the lionesses this month. Starting in November, I'll be having the Lioness Den episodes on a weekly basis. So you can look forward to that coming forward. So those are 3 core things that are kind of happening. The next thing that's going to evolve out of that is going to be a 12-week boot camp. It's called the Baku Boot Camp.
Woo!
You're going to come in and get all this military style training to equip you and get you going. To be bold, authentic, courageous, and unapologetic. And so the boot camp is going to launch in 2022, along with the annual retreat and gathering for women in leadership, where we will go to different destinations each year for a time of refreshing, a time of revitalization, and a time of reflection. So that's what's coming down the pike with the Lioness Leads.
Whew, listen, if you are a woman and you have been encouraged, if you are a leader thinking about being a leader, make sure that you become a part of this tribe. Honey, I signed up last night because what I have experienced in this process, I want to continue even after the publishing is over with, because I believe in the community that Dr. Sanethia has created and what she's going to do. And so I just encourage you all, sign up, thelionessleads.com. Find out more about how you can become a part of the Baku tribe. So last but not least, when will this book be released? We have it in our hands, Dr. Sanethia, but when can other people get a copy? Where do they go? Tell us more about that.
Okay, so first of all,
okay.
First of all, we're in pre-orders right now. So what Siobhan and I are holding are proof copies, where we're just doing a final go through to make sure everything is everything, right? So pre-orders are happening this month. So you want to make sure, if you're listening and you are connected to any of the co-authors, you can purchase directly from any of us who are authors in the book. And so that's one way that you can do that. The other way that you will be able to gather this book when we have it in hand, Monday, November 8th.
Woo! Less than a month away. Woo! So excited.
Monday, November 8th, this drops, right? So it's available in paperback, and it'll also be available on Amazon. You can download it as an ebook. And I think there are a couple other outlets you want to share, Siobhan, that will be available electronically as well.
Yes, so we have Kobo, we have Apple Books and Google Play, and I'm working on one more. So yeah, and it's already uploaded. I haven't told Dr. Sanethia, but it's already ready. If you go to Amazon right now, it is out there for pre-order for the ebook. So I was drafting that email, but I didn't have enough time to let you know. So what better way to tell you tonight that the pre-order is available on Amazon. So if you go out there and look for the Lioness Leads on Amazon, you will see that the Kindle pre-order is available. So yeah.
You didn't have me ugly cry up here on your show. Now you got me screaming like a little girl in a candy store. Oh my goodness. I did not know.
Yeah. I was drafting the email so I could get it ready for you, but since you mentioned it, I might as well tell you.
So yes, you can do pre-orders all this month. You can do pre-orders. You can do pre-orders on Amazon if you want the ebook. You can do pre-orders paperback form through any of our co-authors, including myself. If you would like to support me, go to www.thelionessleads.com, where you sign up for the Baku tribe, and you go ahead and pre-order your paper book copy, or you can pre-order your ebook copy on
Amazon. So I just want to thank you so much for your time and just for blessing us tonight with such wisdom, such jewels, and just telling us about your story and how this book came to fruition and how it started with a vision. And now you have birthed this book with the support and contribution of 14 amazing women. Yes. And so grateful for what you have done and just for your yes. So thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you for this platform. Thank you for everybody who tuned in. I will go back in the comments later and say thank you. But thank you so much, Siobhan, for giving me space on your show tonight.
Yes, absolutely. And so before we leave, relationship talks, like I said, is about all things relationships. I am the You relationship coach, so I love talking about relationship with self, but I also like talking about relationship with others. And so my friend and I created these dating cards, Dating 101 questions to ask when dating, because we want people to have meaningful conversations about dating. So if you are dating, if you are married, if you're in a long-term relationship, I just encourage you to visit a website, and I will put it in the chat, www.walkinginwholenessllc.com/dating 101, so that you can purchase these cards. It is a part of Walking in Wholeness, created by my guy friend and myself, so that you can have meaningful conversations in these dating relationships. Get to know the people. And you may think you know something about your significant other, but I guarantee you're going to learn something today. Okay. So thank you for your support in advance of those. So Dating 101, questions to ask when dating. So thank you all for tuning in. And until next time, good night.
Bye, y'all.
Y'all.